Hi everyone, it is Gene. Let's talk about PC-12 emergency procedures, specifically an engine failure after takeoff. This is the first video that I'll be doing in a multi-part series about PC-12 emergency procedures. So let's get into it. An engine failure after takeoff. This is a full motion level DSIM. This is what we Pilatus pilots train in when we go to flight safety. SimCom does not have the full motion sim. They don't have the hydraulic stilts. It's a little bit lesser of a sim, but the cockpits are exact replicas of the real airplane. So we practice these emergency procedures up on these hydraulic stilts in the full motion sim, which is very immersive and realistic. So this is not a procedure that you would want to practice in the real airplane, but we can do it in the sim, and we can actually turn back to the departure runway and make the quote impossible turn, which is actually possible in the Pilatus if we have enough altitude, as it is in most airplanes. We only want to turn back to the departure runway if we're at or above 1,000 feet radar altitude, that's RA, or above the field elevation if the terrain around the airport is uneven. If we're below 1,000 feet radar altitude, we want to land within 30 degrees of the runway heading, making only shallow turns and just land off airport. If you go to flight safety, they'll teach you 1,200 feet, but 1,000 feet is actually better. So here's a screenshot from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. This is the SimWorks Studios PC-12 Legacy. And you can see here, this is what the situation would look like if we lost the engine right after takeoff. So we are 1,300 feet radar altitude. The flaps are up, and you can see the NG rolling back, and the torque is nice and low. And we've got about a 1,400 or 1,500 foot per minute rate of descent established. And I'm just pitching for the donut right here. So that's 1.3 times VS0, which is right around best glide. It's actually a little bit faster than best glide, but it's a good speed to use in the heat of battle. So the first step, if we lose the engine, is to fly the airplane, maintain positive aircraft control, lower the nose and establish a glide, and then immediately come down here and feather the prop. So pull the condition lever out to feather cutoff, feather the prop, get rid of that disc drag. We don't want the prop to be windmilling. That will reduce our glide range. And then immediately roll into a steep bank. So I'm starting to roll into the steep bank there, again, still pitching for the donut. And then we want to reach up to the overhead panel and flip the non-essential override switch, which is this one right here, to override. If we don't do that, we will not have any gear. So we have to flip that switch. And here's the feathered prop. So it's not windmilling anymore. We're in a nice steep bank, 45 degrees, actually a little bit more. Usually a left-hand turn back around the runway is best, so that you'll have a better view of the runway on the pilot side. And of course, we're not extending the gear or the flaps yet until we come around the turn. You can see here actually the propeller is turning again. This is just a simulator limitation. Of course, in the real world scenario, the prop would still be feathered here. But this is what we want to see. We want to see the runway in front of us like this, and we want to have the runway assured, which it most certainly is in this scenario here. If you need a little bit more lift, you can extend the flaps to 15, which I've done. You can see the flaps are at 15 right there. That'll give you a little bit of a lift bump. You do not want to extend the flaps beyond 15 degrees because you'll start getting more drag and less lift when you extend beyond 15 degrees. So this would be a good time to go ahead and extend the gear since we clearly have the runway made. So we'd swing the gear and make sure we get 3 green, and then just glide and make a normal power off landing and stop on the runway. So in the next video, I will be covering engine fire in flight. That'll be on the members only side, and I plan on making this a series and just working my way through the QRH, which is the quick reference handbook in the airplane, plus some extra emergencies that aren't covered in the QRH, like this one that we just discussed. So if you're interested in joining the channel, feel free to do that. Just a small fee. It'll give you access to this emergency procedures course. I'm also going to throw a couple up on the non-member side like this one, and you'll also gain access to the PC-12 Systems Bootcamp and the PC-12 Flight Planning and Weather Avoidance course as well. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you on the next one.